Today, we are diving deep into, well, a really simple but kind of radical idea. The premise is that you can actually get conversationally fluent, really expressive in English using just a core vocabulary, a focused list of only 500 words.
It does sound counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, almost every language learner, maybe you listening right now, you've been sort of conditioned to think fluency equals dictionary size.
Right. More words equals better English.
Exactly. And so people spend years, literally years, collecting these sometimes quite obscure words, only to find they can't, smoothly order a coffee or tell a basic story about their weekend.
Yeah, that disconnect is huge.
It is. And our sources today, they make a really powerful case that this traditional way, this volume-based approach, it might actually be the very thing holding people back from speaking confidently.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're exploring what you might call the SMART path, the hyper-focused path to mastering English. We want to show you how focusing on depth, not breadth, really owning those most common words, can seriously fast-track you to using English effectively, faster than you probably thought possible.
And we really need to set the scene here. Think about the average learner. You, listening, you might intellectually recognize, 3,000 words, maybe even 5,000.
You can read, follow along mostly.
Right. You see English text, you get the gist. But then a native speaker hits you with a simple, quick, conversational question. Something really basic like, hey, what did you get up to yesterday? And that recognition just evaporates. Poof. The brain freezes. Total blank.
That freeze, that's the absolute key, isn't it? You know the words somewhere in there, but you just can't grab them quickly enough to use them spontaneously.
It's this critical gap, this gulf between, let's say, academic knowledge and real-world automaticity.
And closing that gap, well, that's what we want to explore today. So let's kick things off by tackling those fundamental assumptions head-on in Section 1, debunking the vocabulary myth, and really establishing the power of core frequency. Okay, so the big flaw, the thing so many of us get wrong when learning a language, it's this relentless focus on just piling up more and more unique words. We treat it like, collecting stamps or something. If I have more stamps, I must be richer, right? But with language, the real value isn't just the quantity.
No, not at all. It's about the repeated, skillful use of the most valuable tools you have.
One of our sources used a great analogy. It's like owning this huge, magnificent library.
Right. Every book ever written is technically on your shelves.
Yeah.
But it's completely disorganized. You can't find the simple instructions you need right now, like how to change a light bulb.
All that knowledge, but you can't use it practically.
Precisely. Recognition is passive. Usage is active. And traditional methods, they often prioritize words you might only hear once a year, if that.
Like a kerfuffle or something.
Exactly. While completely failing to build that instant, automatic mastery of the words you actually need 10, 20 times an hour.
And this isn't just a gut feeling, is it? This is backed by some serious linguistic data. Let's talk about this 65% solution.
Yeah, this is where the approach gets its intellectual weight. It comes from corpus linguistics, the scientific study of huge databases of real-world text and speech.
Okay.
And this research consistently shows something quite startling.
Yeah.
The 500 most common words in English. They cover about 65% of everyday spontaneous speech.
Wow. Okay. 65%.
65%. That's the core structure. It's what holds the entire conversation together.
So wait, if you really truly master just those 500 words, you can handle almost 2/3 of a typical conversation.
That's the implication. It's an absolutely astonishing return on investment for your learning time.
That's incredible.
And it gets better. The scaling is amazing. If you just expand that focus a little bit, add the next 500 most common words, so you're targeting a total of 1,000 words. That coverage jumps again. It goes up to nearly 90% of daily conversation.
90%.
90%. And that threshold, that gives you the functional base for almost any normal social interaction. Asking for directions, traveling, basic work discussions, ordering food, just building rapport.
So, okay, I have to ask, what kind of words are these 500 or 1,000 words? Are they the cool, exciting nouns like, a velociraptor or skyscraper?
No, not really. And that's the crucial point that so many learners miss. These core words, they aren't primarily the content words. They're the functional backbone of the language.
The plumbing and wiring, not the furniture.
Exactly. It's your pronouns I, you, we, they, prepositions in, on, at, under, conjunctions and, but, or, articles a, the, and crucially, the super high frequency verbs be, have, do, go, get.
The glue words.
They are the glue. They establish the grammar, the time, the location, the relationships between ideas. When you have those and of and to and is completely automatically without thinking,
then your brain is free.
your brain is free. It can focus its energy on processing the one or two new nouns or adjectives in the sentence. But if you have to pause, even for a split second, to translate of or is every single time you hear them,
The conversation's already moved on. You're lost.
you're lost. Deep mastery of this core ensures the language just flows structurally. It lets your cognitive resources tackle that remaining 10% of specialized stuff.
Okay, but this raises a really important question, I think. I imagine listeners thinking, well, doesn't this strategy completely fall apart if I need to read, say, an academic paper or discuss something really technical? Are we just sacrificing accuracy for speed?
That's a fair challenge, and it's really important to address. The answer comes down to understanding the goal. This specific strategy, the 500-word shortcut, it's explicitly designed for conversational fluency and basic expressive ability.
Right, getting you talking and understanding in everyday situations.
Precisely. If your immediate goal is to, read Shakespearean sonnets fluently or write a PhD thesis on quantum physics, then yes, of course, you're going to need thousands upon thousands of specialized words.
But for most people, starting out or feeling stuck, that's not the primary goal, is it?
Usually not. For the learner who wants freedom to travel, to connect with people, maybe basic professional communication, the priority is high-speed, high-frequency interaction. This 500-word strategy gives you that foundation, that 90% structural fluency.
And then you can build on it.
Then you can efficiently stack the specialized vocabulary on top. If you try to learn all the fancy specialized words before you've mastered the structural glue, well, you've memorized a bunch of advanced tools, but you can't even build a simple shelf to put them on. You can't construct the basic sentences to use them in.
Which leads us neatly back to what our sources call the trap of complexity.
Ah, yes. We see this all the time. Highly motivated learners, they go out, they buy the 4,000 Essential Words book. Yeah, and they diligently memorize words like abundant, astonishing, meticulous. They know the definitions, they can ace the quiz.
But then
Real life happens. I remember reading an anecdote. A really dedicated student knew lots of impressive words like obfuscate, used it correctly in writing.
Okay.
But when the teacher asked a simple follow-up, something like, "So are you finding this class easy or difficult?" The student just panicked, completely froze and stammered out, "I am having much confusion."
Oh, wow. So they mastered the low-frequency complex word, obfuscate, but stumbled over the basic high-frequency structure.
Right.
And finding easy difficult.
It's a perfect illustration. There's this tendency to distrust simplicity. Learners often think, well, if it feels easy, it can't be really effective. So they seek out complexity because the struggle, the pain of memorizing long, difficult lists, it feels like progress.
Even if it's actually slowing them down.
Yes, exactly. Let's go back to building a house. If the foundation is weak, if you haven't achieved instant command of those core 500, 1,000 words, the whole structure is going to wobble and collapse as soon as you put any stress on it. And stress, in this case, is a real-time conversation.
You absolutely cannot underestimate those simple words, the ones you see and hear every single day. They need the deepest mastery.
That's the bedrock. Solidify that high-frequency base first. Everything else builds on that.
Okay, so if the goal is quick usage, not just passive recognition, we need to dig into how the brain actually makes that switch. How does it go from, okay, I kind of know this word, to, boom, I can use it instantly without even thinking?
This is where we really have to shift our perspective. Stop thinking of language as just a list of words to memorize and start thinking of it as a skill to be developed, like riding a bike or playing piano. Your brain, fundamentally, it's a pattern recognition machine. It's brilliant at it. It doesn't store language as, 500 completely separate dictionary entries. It organizes information into patterns, into frequently occurring groups, what linguists often call chunks.
Chunks, like common phrases that go together.
Exactly. And this idea highlights that critical difference we mentioned earlier, knowing versus owning a word.
Right. So if I know the word take, I can look it up, find the definition. To carry or remove something. Basic definition.
But you truly own the word take when you can deploy it instantly, automatically, and correctly in all those different phrasal combinations, in the chunks that native speakers just use without thinking.
We don't just say take.
No, we say, take your time, take care, take responsibility, take a picture, take a break, take notes, take off. You own it when you instantly recognize how the meaning shifts. sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, depending on the other very common words it's paired with.
Native speakers really do kind of live inside these chunks, don't they?
We absolutely do. And because those core 500 words are so common, they form the basis of the most powerful, most versatile chunks in the entire language. Let's look at a couple of examples of how truly mastering one core verb gives you this massive conversational leverage.
Okay, let's do it.
Take the verb make. A learner might just know the basic definition, to create.
Simple enough.
But deep mastery. That means instantly accessing things like make breakfast, make money, make a mistake, make friends, make time, make sense. Notice how make a mistake is like a fixed unit, right? We don't usually say do a mistake.
Right, it sounds wrong.
It sounds wrong because the chunk is make a mistake.
Yeah.
So when you learn make in these specific contexts, you simultaneously learn maybe 6, 7, 8 critical high-frequency phrases. You get huge bang for your buck.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the verb get? That one always seems tricky for learners because it does so many different things.
Get. It's probably the ultimate high-leverage core word. Owning get means instantly having access to. Get up, get ready, get better, get tired, get lost, get along, get back, get together, get over it. The list goes on and on.
Wow.
When you learn these as whole units, like get together meaning to meet,
Yeah.
your brain doesn't have to stop and calculate, okay, what does get mean here? What does together mean? How do they combine? No, it just recalls the whole chunk, get together instantly.
That's the engine of fluency right there, bypassing the calculation.
That's it. And to really hammer home this point about depth over breadth, let's look at another verb that perfectly shows this approach. The verb set.
Okay, set. Seems simple. To
Right.
put something down.
That's the basic definition, yeah. But if that's all you know, you miss almost everything. If you truly own the phrasal chunks built around set, look what you unlock.
Go on.
Set up. Like, we need to set up the meeting room, meaning arrange or prepare.
Yeah.
Then there's set aside. I try to set aside some money each month, meaning save or reserve.
Okay, different.
Totally different. How about set off? We set off early to avoid traffic, meaning to start a journey. Or set in. The rain looks like it's set in for the day, meaning it's begun and will probably continue.
Wow. So from that one simple core verb set, you've actually got instant access to 4 really common but quite different conversational ideas.
Exactly. By dedicating your time to mastering set deeply, in context, you haven't just learned one word. You've acquired 4 distinct high-frequency communication tools.
And that drastically reduces the mental effort needed in a real conversation.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the neuroscience behind this. How does repeating these patterns actually build fluency? It's about building what we call automaticity fluency.
Automaticity, making it automatic.
Right. And the physical process involves creating and strengthening neural pathways in your brain. It's generally like building muscle memory, but for language. It gets stored in your procedural memory system, the same place you store skills like driving a car or typing on a keyboard or playing a musical instrument.
Explain that translation loop again. The thing beginners get stuck in. How does automaticity break that?
Okay, so imagine a beginner. Here's a simple phrase like, how's it going? Their brain often kicks off this complex, multi-step process. First, they hear the English sound, L2. Second, they mentally translate that L2 phrase into their native language, L1.
Okay.
Third, they understand the concept in L1. Fourth, they figure out what they want to say back, formulating the response concept, again in L1. Fifth, they translate that L1 response back into L2 English words.
That sounds absolutely exhausting. And slow. That's got to be that thinking through mud feeling people describe.
It is exhausting. And that delay, that latency, it just kills the natural flow of conversation. Automaticity, which you build through relentless contextual practice of these core 500 words and their chunks, it effectively bypasses the native language L1 step altogether. Your brain learns to connect the English input, L2, directly to the meaning, the concept. And crucially, it connects the concept directly to the English output, L2. The pathway is cleared. The response becomes almost instantaneous, subconscious, no translation needed.
Which is why the famous 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, seems to apply so perfectly here. We're not aiming for, literary perfection initially. We're aiming for maximum conversational impact with minimum vocabulary.
Exactly. The 80-20 rule basically says 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. In English learning, that critical 20% of effort that yields 80% of your conversational ability, that's the deep contextual mastery of those core 500 to 1,000 words and their most common chunk patterns.
We really need to underline this distinction, though. It's the 80% of the words you actually hear and use that need the deep mastery, not 80% of the dictionary.
Precisely. That remaining 20% of specialized lower frequency words, the tail end of vocabulary,
Yeah.
you can often guess them from context or ask about them, or sometimes just let them go if you securely own the core structure.
Let's use that cooking analogy again. Seems fitting.
Yeah, it works well. Think about it. A top chef might have a pantry full of obscure, fancy ingredients. Those are your low frequency words, your saffron and your truffle oil.
Right.
But 95% of all delicious everyday cooking, what does it rely on? Salt, pepper, oil, maybe some onion, garlic, water, flour, the basics, the core ingredients. Once you truly master how to use those core things well,
You can make almost anything taste good.
you can make almost anything taste good, even if you're missing the fancy stuff. Those core 500 words, they are your linguistic salt, pepper, and garlic. Master them first.
Okay, the theory makes a lot of sense. The linguistic data seems solid. But how does someone listening right now actually translate this into a daily habit? Something practical they can start doing tonight. We need a clear roadmap.
Absolutely. It has to be actionable. Our sources break this down into basically 4 foundational steps, with a real emphasis on making it easy to stick with and tailoring it to your life.
All right, step 1, choose and personalize your core words. So we start with a list of the 500 most common words, right? But you're saying personalization is really important here.
It's crucial because it makes the learning immediately relevant, which really helps your brain lock it in. So yes, start with a standard high-frequency list, but then tweak it. If you're a nurse, for example, words like patient, hospital, medicine, chart, help might be slightly outside the absolute top 500 globally, but they are incredibly high frequency for you.
Or if you're in tech, maybe code, deploy, server, issue, fix.
Exactly. Or a student might need assignment, deadline, study, lecture, tailor maybe 10-20% of your initial list to your specific environment, the conversations you know you'll be having this week, that personal connection signals to your brain. Pay attention. This stuff is immediately useful.
Okay, good tip. Step 2, learn in context. You've touched on this, but it sounds like a non-negotiable rule. Never study a word alone.
Never, ever. Seriously. Memorizing definitions from a list is just building that passive recognition we talked about. It doesn't build active command. To really own a word, you have to practice it inside a complete functional sentence that means something to you.
So instead of just arrive, come to a place.
Right. You need to practice a full sentence log.
Yeah.
I usually arrive at work around 9, or my package finally arrived today. And this is where you bring in multiple senses. Don't just read it silently.
You got to say it.
You absolutely have to say it out loud. Hear yourself saying it. Maybe even record your voice on your phone saying the sentence. Why? Because hearing your own voice saying the English phrase correctly starts building that physical pathway, that muscle memory, between the idea in your head and the actual act of speaking. You're training your mouth and ears simultaneously.
Got it. Write it, say it, hear it. Okay, step 3, connect new words to old ones. This sounds like how language should naturally grow.
It is. Fluency isn't about jumping randomly from word #1 to word #499. It's about building complexity gradually, layer by layer, on the foundation you've already mastered.
Give us an example.
Okay, let's say you've mastered some super basic core words. I go work early because traffic. You start with a simple, perfectly fluent sentence using only those. I go to work early because of the traffic.
Simple, clear, useful.
Totally fluent. Now, next week, maybe you want to add a slightly less common but still useful word like train. You don't just learn train in isolation, you integrate it naturally into the pattern you already know. I go to work early because the train is cheaper, or I go to work early because the train avoids the traffic.
Ah, I see. You're not just memorizing train, you're plugging it into a structure your brain already understands.
Exactly. Your brain recognizes the familiar pattern and accepts the new word much more easily. You're creating with the language, not just memorizing lists.
Nice. And finally, step 4, use words in a tiny story. This sounds like the integration piece, putting it all together.
It really is. This moves the vocabulary from just being stored somewhere in your memory to being actively usable, ready to deploy. The idea is simple. Once a week, maybe Friday evening or Sunday afternoon, take 10 or 15 of the core words and chunks you focused on that week and just write, or even better, speak a very short story, like 60 seconds long, about your day or something that happened last week. Keep it simple. For instance, yesterday I went to the supermarket. I needed to buy some food. I got fruit and bread. I walked home and made dinner. It was a good day.
All core words, all natural.
All core words. It forces you to actually use them, to link them together under a little bit of pressure. This makes sure they're really available when you need them in a real conversation. It's real English built on real frequency.
Okay, those 4 steps make sense. But let's face reality. People are busy. Life gets in the way. How do you maintain consistency?
Consistency. It trumps intensity every single time. An hour cramming session every Saturday is genuinely far less effective than 15 focused minutes every single day.
Why is that?
Because that daily rhythm keeps the neural pathways warm. It constantly signals to your brain, this English stuff is important. Keep it active. Don't file it away. Consistency is the absolute key ingredient for building that automaticity we talked about.
So what does that 15-minute daily plan look like? Something designed for zero burnout.
It breaks down really simply, leveraging different times a day.
Okay.
Morning, just 5 minutes. This is your vocal warm-up while you're making coffee, waiting for the bus, whatever. Review the sentences or chunks you focused on yesterday. And the key is, say them out loud, clearly, confidently. Get your mouth moving. Get the sound into your ears first thing.
All right, 5 minutes vocal practice. What's next?
Afternoon, another 5 minutes. This is pattern recognition time. Find a short English audio clip. It could be a verse of a song you like, a 30-second news headline, a short bit from a YouTube video. Your goal here is not to understand every single word.
Okay, so what is the goal?
Your goal is to actively listen and consciously notice how often the core 500 words you're studying actually appear. How many times do you hear get, do, have, time, people, work, say, think?
So it's like validating the strategy, seeing it in action.
Exactly. It's incredibly motivating. Your brain goes, hey, I know those words. They really are everywhere. This system works. It turns passive listening into active confirmation.
Clever. Okay, morning recall, afternoon recognition. What about the evening?
Evening. The final 5 minutes. This is your output practice. Tell a super short story, just 1 minute long, about your day. Use your core words. And here's the crucial habit. Record yourself on your phone doing it.
Record myself. Why?
So you can listen back. But, and this is vital, only try to correct one single thing each time.
Just one, not everything.
Just one. Maybe you notice you messed up the past tense on one verb. Okay, just focus on fixing that verb tomorrow. Maybe your pronunciation of through was a bit off. Fine, work only on through. Don't try to fix everything at once.
Because that would be overwhelming.
Totally overwhelming and demotivating.
Yeah.
Small, specific, immediate fixes make the process feel positive and achievable. You do this whole 15-minute routine, recall, recognize, produce, and refine one thing consistently for, say, 90 days. I guarantee you'll feel a massive internal shift in your confidence and ability.
It's so true that language learning is it's an emotional roller coaster, isn't it? So many people give up because they feel stuck or embarrassed, maybe shy about making mistakes.
Absolutely. The psychological barriers are often much bigger than the linguistic ones.
And it sounds like this 500-word shortcut is almost as much a psychological tactic as it is a linguistic one. It seems designed to minimize that pressure.
I think that's a huge part of its power, yes. The goal has to feel achievable. If you tell a learner your task is to master 10,000 words, their brain just shuts down. Overwhelm leads to paralysis.
Yeah. Oh, where do you even start?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when the goal is small, clear, and immediate, okay, this week just master these 10 new chunks, or tonight just create one paragraph using these words, the pressure just evaporates. It feels doable.
And getting those small wins, that must be huge psychologically.
It's directly linked to our brain chemistry, specifically the dopamine system.
The reward chemical.
Precisely. Every time you successfully complete one of these small defined goals, you finish your 15-minute session, you write your little story, you correctly use a new chunk in your practice, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine.
Feels good.
It feels good. It's your brain's internal reward signal saying, nice job, that was successful, let's do that again tomorrow. And that feedback loop is absolutely critical. It gradually shifts studying English from being this chore you have to force yourself to do into something you actually start to want to engage with because it feels rewarding.
And that positive momentum, that's what creates this snowball effect that learners dream about, right? Where things start to get easier.
Yes. In the beginning, those first few weeks, maybe the first month,
right,
it can feel slow. Like you're pushing this small snowball uphill. You're putting in the effort, building that core foundation.
But
once that foundation of, say, 500 words in their common chunks is really solid, the progress starts to accelerate, almost exponentially. The snowball starts rolling downhill, gathering speed and size on its own.
How does that manifest? Like, what does the learner start noticing?
Well, suddenly you'll listen to a movie clip or a podcast and you'll realize, hey, I actually understand the main structure. You get the who, what, where, when, why, because you own that 90% connective tissue of the language. Your brain feels that immediate success.
And that must make dealing with the unknown words easier, too?
Dramatically easier.
Yeah.
Because you understand the surrounding structure, the rhythm of the language. Those core verbs and prepositions are solid. You can make much more intelligent guesses about the meaning of that single, unfamiliar noun or adjective.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine you hear the sentence, I went to the park and saw a large, beautiful quercus. Now, maybe you've never heard the word quercus before.
Right, no idea.
But because you instantly understood saw, large, beautiful park, your brain can immediately deduce, okay, quercus must be some kind of thing you find in a park that can be large and beautiful. Probably a tree, maybe a type of plant or flower.
You narrow it down massively just from the context provided by the core words.
Exactly. Your strong foundation allows for that informed deduction. You don't get completely derailed by one unknown word anymore.
And this growing confidence, this ability to navigate real English, that leads to what you call the living in English phase.
Yeah, that's when it gets really exciting.
What are the signs? How does a listener know they're getting there, reaching that point of automaticity?
It's often in the small, almost subconscious victories. You might find yourself reading, say, Instagram captions or news headlines and realizing you didn't mentally translate them first. You just understood.
Cool.
Or you start catching lyrics in English songs without having to look them up. Maybe you realize halfway through making dinner or walking the dog that you've been thinking in English for the last few minutes without even trying.
The language stops being a separate subject you study.
It starts becoming an internal tool you just use. And maybe the ultimate sign, the one that gets people really excited, is when you have that moment where you realize you actually dreamed, even briefly, in English.
Wow. That means it's really gone deep, hasn't it?
It means the language has fully migrated into the procedural automatic parts of your brain. It's properly integrated.
Okay, this all sounds fantastic, but this method, being so focused, it must be easy to make mistakes, right? To fall off track.
It is. And there are 3 really common but easily avoidable mistakes that can unfortunately derail the whole process if you're not careful.
All right, let's hear them. Mistake number 1.
Mistake number 1. Learning lists without sentences. We keep saying it, but it's so tempting to fall back into old habits, especially when you're tired. Just writing down words and definitions, even if they are the core 500 words.
It's just building passive knowledge again.
Exactly. It's a fast track back to recognition without usage. It completely undermines the goal of spontaneous conversation. You must always learn, practice, and review the words inside full, meaningful sentences. Always.
Okay, learning context. Got it. Mistake number 2.
Mistake number 2.
Yeah.
Not speaking enough. This is that huge psychological barrier again. So many learners wait until they feel ready to speak.
Which means never.
Pretty much. It's a promise you make to yourself that guarantees you'll stay silent. Fluency is a skill, like swimming or dancing. You can't learn it just by reading about it. You have to do it actively.
Even if it's just talking to yourself.
Especially if it's just talking to yourself initially. The moment you start narrating your simple daily actions out loud. Okay, I'm putting on my shoes now. Right, I need to turn off the light. I'm getting hungry. I think I'll eat soon. You are forcing your brain to retrieve and use that core vocabulary instantly. This kind of simple internal narration is absolutely essential practice. Don't wait for a conversation partner to start speaking.
Speak early, speak often, even if it's just to the cat. Okay, mistake number 3.
Mistake number 3, trying to study too many words at once. The whole philosophy here is depth over breadth, remember, quality over quantity. If you try to cram, say, 50 new words in one day, you might feel productive, but you'll learn them all superficially. And chances are you'll forget most of them by the weekend.
So it's wasted effort.
Largely, yes. But if you focus on just 10 words, or maybe 10 core chunks, and you learn them deeply, you use them in 5 different sentences, you say them aloud, you put them in your mini story, you've genuinely acquired maybe 50 usable, functional pieces of language that will actually stick. Focus on 10 words a day well. Play with them, combine them, really maximize their utility, then move on tomorrow.
Depth over breadth. Quality over quantity. Got it. So let's paint a picture. Let's imagine the Fluency Award maybe a year from now for someone who follows this focused approach.
Okay. Picture this. It's a year from now. You glance at your phone, see a message notification in English, you read it, understand it instantly, and you type back a reply. Sounds great. See you then.
No hesitation, no mental translation apps needed. You just communicate.
Nice. What else?
Maybe you're traveling. You step off a plane, feeling confident. You walk into a cafe, order exactly what you want, maybe ask the barista a quick question, understand the answer, no stress. Later, you ask someone for directions on the street, and you actually understand their reply well enough to find your way.
The fear is gone. The fear and the constant mental calculation are gone. Or maybe you're relaxing, watching a short YouTube video in English. You not only get the main idea, but you understand the context, the tone. You actually laugh at the jokes because you got the nuance instantly.
That sounds amazing.
That's the fluency reward. English is no longer this difficult test you're constantly failing. It's become a tool, a powerful, almost relaxing tool that gives you access to global connection, information, and just freedom, confidence.
And that huge reward, that freedom, it comes from taking lots of small, incredibly focused, consistent steps. #tag outro.
So let's try and synthesize this. The massive value here seems to be in simplifying your approach, right? Fluency isn't really about climbing this impossibly huge mountain of vocabulary.
At all.
It's about having this laser focus on the high-frequency words, the ones that actually build the structural framework of everyday language. It's recognizing that deep mastery of just 500 core words can be your immediate passport to understanding and handling, 65% of daily conversation. That's the power of it. And the path to getting there, it can start right now, today. The very first action step is deliberately simple, immediate, and honestly quite high impact.
Okay, what is it?
Grab a notebook or just open the Notes app on your phone and write down 10 really common high-frequency English words. Use some of those core verbs and functional words we talked about. Maybe go, do, have, get, want, people, time, good, today, fast.
Okay, got my 10 words, now what?
Now, commit to creating just one single short paragraph using as many of those words as you naturally can. Focus on simple, real sentences. Maybe something like,
I want to have a good time today. I need to go fast because I do not have much time. I met some new people and they want to get coffee soon. Something like that.
perfect. Exactly like that. Simple, natural, using the core words. Now, the final part of this first step, read that paragraph out loud 3 times.
3 times.
3 times. Focus on saying it clearly, maybe a little louder each time. What you'll probably notice is that by the 3rd time, the words are flowing just a little bit more easily off your tongue.
Ugh, that slight feeling of ease.
That's it. That tiny sensation of increased fluency, that's the muscle memory just starting to kick in.
Yeah.
It's proof right there in your own voice of how quickly this focused contextual practice can start to work.
That's a great concrete starting point.
It is. And it leads to maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Go on.
If this kind of profound freedom, the freedom to travel, connect globally, work internationally, just express who you truly are without fear.
Yeah.
If that can genuinely begin with the deep mastery of just 500 high leverage words,
Yeah.
then it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other really complex areas of your life, challenges that feel overwhelming right now, could potentially be simplified, maybe even mastered, by applying that same intense 80-20 focus, by identifying and relentlessly practicing just the core 20% that yield 80% of the results.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Find the core, master the core.
Find the core, master it deeply. Start with your 10 words, write your paragraph, and speak it out loud today.